What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. Today I'm doing a video because of a comment that I received. I'm going to put the comment up right here. And you see this person says that I sent somebody. I took the name off. It's in the comments if you guys are really trying to see who. But for video purposes, I took the name off. And it says, you sent so-and-so from Filtros on a mission and he caught a life sentence. And then you see my response. I said something along the lines of, that's prison. That's the cold reality of prison, right? But I want to get into this for a second. This person said this in the comments as if that was somehow damning of me, right? And for those of you that don't know Filtros, that's Fillmore. That's Fillmore in the 805. That's a homie of mine. That was a homie of mine from the area. And yes, it's well documented. That's one of the many people that did a hit for me. It's not something that I'm proud of, right? I actually told the story. I did 2 different videos on this incident, right? And one of them was recently. It was a dude that came to me and he wanted to buy some dope. And I told him I was glad he came over to me because we had a crew on him because his homeboy was the one that was going to get hit. And it was actually 2 dudes that did the hit. One from Filtros, the other one was from Cudahy, right? And they hit the guy 33 times. And the fact that he caught a life sentence, he knew the dangers when he accepted the mission. You know, when people say in prison you don't have a choice, he had a choice. When I first got to see Yard and New Folsom from Pelican Bay, there was a guy, and at the time there was somebody else in the had the spot, right? And they asked one of their homeboys to do a hit, and he said yes. And at 3 in the morning, he PC'd up. And he gave his homeboys up. So, this vato from Filtros, he had a choice. And he chose to handle business. The fact that you know about it kind of leads me to believe that he cried to you about it. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But how would you know unless you were there? And if you were there, you wouldn't be throwing it at my face. You would know. Things like this happen. This right here is like an example of why I do the stories that I do. Why my channel exists. To show people. It ain't Hollywood. It ain't glitz and glamour. It's not about camaraderie. It's about existence. Self-preservation. If I'm being honest, the dude that got hit, he had came from B facility and they gave him a pass. The dude had no pass coming. So had they not given him a pass and had they whacked him over there and taken care of that issue, then maybe the homie from Filtros wouldn't have caught that life sentence. However, we can't dwell on what ifs and maybe ifs and if they would have. The reality is the dude was on B facility with the case he had. He put hands on one of his cellies drunk. Either one of those 2 things was enough to have him whacked. He went to Ad Seg. When they kicked him out of Ad Seg, they brought him to C facility. We checked his paperwork. He had to go. The homie from Filtros was asked, hey, you willing to help us out with something? He said yes without any hesitation. They moved on him. They hit him. And you know the crazy thing is, you in the comments are saying, you know, and don't get me wrong, I got in trouble for that, right? As far as with the CDC, that's I got fucking sent to AdSeg for that. There's a whole video I did. If I can remember the video, I'll put it out. Matter of fact, let's just talk about that. So there's a cop that was known in New Folsom. He named himself Zap, right? And he was one of the dirtiest cops you would ever find. Not dirty in that he would bring in phones or dope or knives or anything like that. No, dirty as in he would set you up for cases. He was trying to be a crime fighter. And this was a time where the COs weren't trying to be crime fighters. This dude, and shout out to everybody in Texas, but this dude was a Tejano that hated Californians. Hated Vatos from California. And he went out of his way to try to hurt people when he could and set people up. Now, when he got to on Cinco de Mayo, we had two dudes hit, two separate parts of the yard. One of them we really wanted him done bad, and so that's why the two hits were set up simultaneous. And after that incident, he shows up on the yard. As soon as he got there, I had already heard of him from when I was on beat facility in New Folsom, as well as when I was in the shoe in Pelican Bay. You would hear his name, and you would hear, and back then it was mainly Northerners that used to talk about him, that he was setting people up, getting them validated, right? So when he hit the yard and I saw his nameplate, I knew exactly who he was, and so I gave the homies the heads up. Hey, this Vato's here to put a wrench in the spokes, eh? He's here to try to fuck with us, so be on your toes. I want to say he was there for about 2 weeks, watching me, watching us, scoping everything. One of the homies had to go turn in his canteen ducket or something, I don't remember, but he had to go down to the bottom of the yard to canteen for some reason. So I said, I'll roll with you, let's go. And while we're walking down there, Zap approaches me. He had the CDC hat on, and he comes up to me and he says, "Hey, Joker." And I ignored him, and he called me Joker again. And I said, "Hey, who you talking to?" He said, "I'm talking to you." I said, "My name's Villa." And then he's like, "Look, man, I know what you're doing around here, this and this and that, and I'm here to get you." And I said, "Listen, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but you got your shit wrong." And I remember it was something along the lines, I don't remember the exact words, but I remember he grabbed the front of his hat and he turned it sideways and he goes, "Do I look stupid?" He goes, "Let's not play this game." And then he puts his hat back forward. Anyways, long story short, right there, talking to me, there was other homies right there. He tells me this: "I don't give a fuck what you guys do," because a couple COs had just gotten hit on B facility, right? So he says, "I don't care what you guys do, as long as no COs get hit on this yard. I don't care what you do with blue," which means the convicts. "I don't care what you do with blue as long as green don't get hit." And I told him, "I ain't nobody, but I could tell you this: as long as green don't disrespect anyone, they won't get hit while I'm here." And he said, "That's all I want to know." And he takes off. I take off. So we start talking immediately. The homies are like, "Damn, he pretty much gave us a green light to do whatever the fuck we want," right? Now, getting back to this hit. The day this dude got hit, Fitros and Cudahy, they hit this dude. Like I said, they hit him 33 times, right? That day, Zap wasn't there. The very next day, I want to say he got hit on a Sunday. The very next day, here comes Zap. They come to my cell. They cuff me up. Take me down to the cages. And I remember confronting him when he came to the cage. And I told him, hey, check this out. Now everybody, all the Southerners on the yard know for sure your word ain't shit. You ain't nothing but a fucking liar. You said as long as green don't get touched, you ain't tripping on nothing. And I remember he said, man, he got hit 33 times. This and that. I said, so what? I said, I don't know why the fuck you thought that because you were here, prison was going to change. Things were going to be different. You ain't nobody. And he stormed off all mad, stomped away, right? And I'm standing in that cage and I'm waiting to get my 114 lockup order and get escorted over to ADSEG, go back to the hole, right? And one of the clerks comes walking by because they can't talk to us, right? So they can't come up to the cage. So he walked by and he's like, hey, he's stacking 1030s on you. Now, the 1030 is a confidential memorandum. It means information was dropped on you, right? So I'm like, whatever. Gracias, eh? But whatever, in my head, whatever. Sure enough, here comes Zap. And he has a stack of papers, right? He hands me my 114 lockup order, which is why you're going to why you're going to the hole. And he hands me a stack of 10 1030 forms. Anybody that knows it's a green, you get the green, the convict gets the green cover, right? There's a white one, there's a goldenrod, there's a pink, I think, and then there's the green. The green goes to us, right? And he hands it to me. And he stands there looking at me like he really did something. And I read the lockup order. Then I start scanning through the 1030s. Now, when you get a 1030 form dropped on you, there's a list of boxes at one point. And one will say like it came from a 128G or it came from a confidential confidential source, but it has a list of things like what was the criteria that made this legit, right? So whenever you get a 1030, first thing you're gonna do is you always check those boxes. Fuck what they're saying on the top. I always want to see what was the source item, right? Well, all 10 forms were blank in that area. So I started laughing at him. And I told him, you're a fucking clown, eh? I said, every one of these fucking 1030s is bogus. This is bunk. I said, there's no box marked. This dude literally says this to me. He says, look, I usually ask for 3 or more. But because of who you are on this yard, I'm going to just say this. And he says, if you give me one name of who's going to get whacked next on this yard, I'll let you out this cage. I told him, man, fuck you. And I went to ADSEG. And after about, I don't remember, it was 10 days, 15 days, 30 days, whatever it was, I got cut loose because it was bogus. When I hit that yard again, that's when, and you can go to my Richie the Rat series, that's when Richie, who was on the mesa with us, and we would later find out, or I would find out, was actually working with the Judas. Because when he was in Salinas Valley State Prison, he was on the mesa there. And they were going to validate him. And he told them if they didn't validate him, he would work for them. They brought him to New Folsom to our yard to get our mesa. But anyways, when I came back out of the hole, that's when Richie and Zap worked together to get me snatched up off the yard. What set the whole thing in motion was the hit that this guy's talking about. It's unfortunate that Filtros caught a life sentence. But that's part of prison. I don't know if this person thought I was going to be embarrassed or anything like that. I'm not. It's unfortunate. And hopefully that Vato is okay. Hopefully he's got action on going home. I don't know. That's all up to him. But this is just another glimpse into how ugly prison is. You got a cop thinking he can dictate somebody's program. And then you have somebody else who was, in this case, me, asking other people to possibly catch a life sentence because something needed to be taken care of. It's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them, man. I'm out of here.